gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Step Back Tonight. I am your host, Tristan. Hello, everybody. It's been a little bit. Hello. Just get the chat open here so I can see everything and see all y'all faces. Okay. Alrighty. Hello. I'm Tristan. I stream on Mondays and Tuesdays. On Mondays, I stream from 12 till 2. I do the Monday Discourse with Mia Mulder. Although this week, because she was sick, we're moving that stream to Thursday. So look forward to Thursday at noon. The Thursday Discourse, I guess? And of course, Step Back Tonight, which is what you're watching right now, which goes from 7 till 9 on Tuesdays. I go by he, him pronouns. And you can find my work at stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshut.com or tristanpj on Twitter. And yeah, if you want to help make more content possible, I just spent an entire day hashing out a very different script than I'm used to making. And that should be something interesting to behold. If you want to help my work, you can do it by going to patreon.com/stepbackhistory and helping out my channel for as little as 84 cents a month. If you get a yearly subscription, you get to see videos early. You get to see videos not only early, but ad-free with no sponsorship. So, good stuff. And on Twitch Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, for no extra money, you can actually support Step Back by giving me one of your once per month free Twitch Prime subscriptions. You can use those. I'd recommend you use them every month on somebody because, you know, Twitch performers work very hard. But if you choose me, be very grateful. I'll appreciate it. So thank you. As far as content coming down the pike, my latest video is on the residential school system. Very dark video, but very important video. I hope you guys like it. It seems to be performing pretty well. And my next video that I'm currently working on is it started as a video about cryptocurrencies, and it is evolving into a video about commodity fetishism and the issue of capitalism being bad, basically. So, yeah. See where that goes. And of course, yeah, I have a link here in the chat. You can probably see this, which is stepbackhistory.com/stream question, where if we have time at the end of the stream today, I'll probably go and collect some more, but I do already have some collected. But if you want to submit for future streams, this is how you do it. I hang on to them for about a month, so you've got plenty of time to, get used to things. And also, new people. If this is your first time watching the stream, I would highly recommend or I would like to have you say hello. I know there's a lot of people here who seem like it's their first time in here, and I want to say hello. Welcome to the stream. We've got a great chat community that I hope that you are here to hang out with. So, yeah, if this is your first time here, say hi. All right. I think that's the first opening spiel. I think I covered all my... Next video sounds sick. Yeah, the kind of through line is that I start off by talking about cryptocurrencies, and then I kind of talk about why they're a scam. But then I kind of pause and go, well, actually, if you think about it, if cryptocurrencies are a scam, then basically all of capitalism is a scam. And then I kind of go into why that's the case. So that's sort of the thing. Randy Tran, hello. Hudson V1, hello. Karma, hello. Usually busy this one, so hey, hello, the Phoenix Paradox 1255. Yeah. Hopefully you guys will be good. So let's see, so that's that. I guess I should get into the content. Usually, this is the thing I'm trying to get on the roll, is starting by looking into some news stories I've come across that were interesting or something worth talking about. So we'll get into that. Let's see. Unless there's something like really crazy that's going on right now. The only thing I know about that happened today was the Mario Cuomo thing, which, okay, a guy who has, we've been spending years talking about how he was committing sexual harassment is finally going down for doing the thing that Democrats were trying to ignore for a long time. But now, I guess now he's facing something akin to a comeuppance, so. Okay. So the first story we got today in our sort of news segment, it's Andrew Cuomo, not Mario Cuomo. Oh, all right. It's a Cuomo. One of the Cuomos. Sorry, I am free-to-phobic, so. The Nina Turner vote is tonight in the Democratic primary. Ooh. Man, if she wins, that'll be great. I know that there's some centrists that they're really trying to push, and I don't know what his situation is. I don't know who may be more nauseous this week, Vosh or Cuomo. Oh yeah, isn't Vosh going on what's his name? The Little Face Man's show or something? Is that what this is about? I don't know. Vosh does dumb shit every week, so I don't know what he's up to. My life is better not following what he's doing. All right. Hello, do you prefer Twitch or YouTube commenters? I watch both, so it's really whichever one is more comfortable for you to watch. Really. Okay. So, our first article is called 1972 Warning of Civilizational Collapses on Point, New Study Finds. So let's get into that. So this was something that somebody brought up last week, I want to say, that I wanted to take a look at. So let's take a look. I hate ads so much. Okay, where's... Want to say really enjoy videos. Keep doing the good work. Thank you. Do you agree with the pulling out of soldiers in Afghanistan? Yes. Trust me. No. Tim Pool's show. Oh, God. So, in 1972, a group of Massachusetts, or MIT professors, scientists, published an alarming prediction. If industrial society continued to grow unchecked, it would exhaust Earth's resources and lead to civilizational collapse by the middle 21st century. Okay. Interesting. That study, called The Limits of Growth, sparked controversy and concern when it first emerged, but now research published in the Yale Journal of Industrial Ecology says we are currently on track to living out its warnings. The MIT scientists said we needed to act now to achieve a smooth transition and avoid costs. The author of the new study told The Guardian, that didn't happen, and so we're seeing the impact of climate change. Okay. Somebody in the chat was asking, we didn't know about climate change in the 1970s, so how could we possibly have talked about this? And it's we've known about climate change since the 1950s. And scientists have been talking about climate change since, at least the 1970s. So, this is, still a thing. What do I think about Iran hijacked some ships in the Gulf of Oman? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it yet, so, yeah. Hey, thank you for the 10 dingoes. I watched a video on Jack Lang. He was the premier of New South Wales in the 1930s. He was a SOCTEM. How violently opposed fascist movement in Australia at that time. Cool. Did he sell out his communist comrades? I bet he did. Climate change wasn't discovered in the 1980s? No. I think the first warning that Exxon got about it was in the 50s. Vosh and David Pakman are still the best right-wing commentators for leftists to consume. Oh boy. So let's see. Let's go into the what the fuck is this ad? Okay. Um, let's, yeah, report advertisement. What the fuck? Okay. The original limits to growth paper used a model called World 3 to predict how factors like global population, birth rate, mortality, industrial output, food production, health and education services, non-renewable natural resources, and pollution would interact to shape the future. They used the model to show different potential scenarios for the future, some leading to collapse or a steep decline in social, economic, and environmental conditions. Given the unappealing approach or prospect of collapse, I was curious to see which scenarios were aligning closer to empirical data today. Harrington, who is also sustainability and dynamic chief systems analyst at a major accounting firm, KPMG, said on a site that, after all, the book that featured this world model was a bestseller in the 70s, and by now we've had several decades of imperial data which would make comparison meaningful. But to my surprise, I could not find recent attempts at this, so I decided to do it myself. So, Hello, everybody. So we're talking about apparently a report in the early 1970s that predicted like ecological collapse around the mid 21st century, and that it seems that we are well on our way towards that. So, Amazon wants me to buy cat food, huh? Okay. Okay, let's see. Where were we? Harrington found that we are currently closest to two of the original study's potential future: BAU2, business as usual, and CT, comprehensive technology. In both these scenarios, growth would start to decline in about 10 years from now. In the BAU scenario, Harrington told Vice this would lead to collapse around 2040. In the CT scenario, the decline would be more gradual, leading to what Harrington called relatively soft landings in the paper. However, even though the CT scenario does not indicate total collapse, it still suggests the status quo cannot remain in place. Both scenarios thus indicate that continuing business as usual, that is, pursuing continuous growth, is not possible. Harrington wrote in the study. Neither of those scenarios are locked in place, of course. However, Vice noted that the data indicates policymakers have about 10 years to meaningfully act to change course. Still, Harrington argued in favor of taking that action. The key finding of my study is that we have a choice to align with a scenario that does not end in collapse. With innovation in business along with new developments in governments and civil society continuing to update, the model provides another perspective on the challenges and opportunities we have to create a more sustainable world. Ultimately, avoiding decline means turning society towards another goal than growth, Harrington concluded in the study. All right. So, that's something to talk about. Interesting. I mean, this is something that, you didn't really need to be in one of those ads. I don't know. Freaking, this website is wild. So this is something that, most socialists these days would probably talk about pretty, like, growth is, like, the idea of infinite growth has always been impossible, and the capitalist approach to thinking that you can, like, actually keep growing forever as sort of like a religious dogma has always been really fucking dumb. And yeah, we are now seeing that as a big problem because we're kind of close to collapse. I think that, like, at least it seems to me that a lot of people seem to be thinking that, this is coming. A lot of, like, come on. What do you mean by collapse? Like, I saw this predicted industrial output by the end of the century would be at 1900 levels, and we did have civilization 120 years ago. It was just really shitty. I think it's just, collapse just means, like, a rapid decline in, like, all the different metrics of our economics. Like, our economics just stops working in a pretty serious way, and that our society as it is today just no longer functions. Thank you for the 5 Aussie dollars. American commentators found it amazing that SOCDEM had the full backing of the police against fascists. Yeah, it is weird. Police usually love fascists. I feel like the algorithm has been very kind to step back in the last couple of weeks. This is true. I went from, about 3 weeks ago now. No, 2 weeks ago I hit 100,000 subscribers, because I was like at like 92,000 subscribers, and then something happened a few weeks ago that led to this huge increase in views, and I was getting like 1,000 subscribers a day for like a few weeks, and I hit 100,000 subscribers about 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago, and then after I hit 100,000, I kind of stopped paying attention, and while things have slowed down a little bit, I kept going, and now I've hit like 107,000 subscribers, which is like bananas. In my opinion, police don't like fascists. They are merely trying to protect our society for the better. That's cute that you think that. That's adorable. I to be so simple, to be so innocent. I just think of stuff like how Greece had to have a serious issue with the fact that like the police were like 50 or like whatever, like when Golden Dawn was trying to take down a neo-Nazi group in Greece, that like something like a third to like 40% of the police force were in this party. And it's like, oh, okay. Like police officers were like carving neo-Nazi symbols into their helmet, and like, I don't know. I have studied way too much of American history to realize that the U.S. always, at least police always seem to be to save their vitriol for leftists and environmentalists, and all of a sudden remember free speech and kindness when it comes to dealing with fascists and Nazis and racists. And that very often, like, in parts of the South, like, the Ku Klux Klan and the police were the same people. Yeah. Let's see, what else we got? Yeah, people are saying that the growth has to do with thought slime. Maybe. If so, it's like a couple steps removed, because like the thought slime video happened in the first week of July, and then about 2 weeks later was when, or maybe like a week later, was like I can see the bump that was caused by the thought slime shout out, and it was good. It was pretty big. It was maybe got 200 subscribers that day or something like that. You know, decent. And then it took about like maybe like a week or so later. It looked like the algorithm just started randomly picking up a couple of my videos. And then as that happened, once those videos started to kind of run out of juice, other videos started picking up. And so the Vietnam series, because a lot of people are talking about, or the what's it called? The White Power series, which is like, there's a lot of people in the chat who are talking about that series because that series seems to have like really taken off. And that sort of started everything. So I'm not sure, but it seems like the algorithm just gave me some love, which I'll take. Yeah, I don't know what happened though. All right. An ethnic Greek person needed to die for the police and a Greek citizen to respond to Golden Dawn. Yeah. Let's see. Reminds me, any movement on getting the play button? Not yet. From what I've heard, so to qualify for the play button, you have to have had no community violations and no like strikes of any kind. So I qualify in that sense. But what I need to do to get it, it takes them like, they have to verify it or something. So the timeline on this is kind of slow, and they said that if you don't hear from them after about a month, you should reach out. And it hasn't been a month yet. So when a month has passed, I will reach out. But hopefully they'll get to me and ask me about my play button soon, because I really want to get it. I really want to hang it on my wall. Where did I get most of my education? I did my undergrad at a university called Bishop's University, and I did my graduate work at University of Western Ontario. All of them were in Canada. Well, Bishop's is in Quebec, but no. Binge the whole channel when thoughts on sharing. Oh, that's awesome. Alrighty. Is it hard to live in Quebec without knowing any French? Yes. Depends upon where you live. There are like English pockets in Quebec and places like Montreal, like you can get by without French pretty easily. I do know a little bit of French though, and I learned a lot when I was there, so I kind of got by. But like you would not be able like. You could not live in Quebec. You could not get a job in Quebec if you didn't speak French. And like there's not a lot of opportunities for you. Like there's not like if you're an Anglophone Quebecois person and you want to go to university in English, there's not many options. There's only 3 universities in the whole province that are in English, and like there's only a handful of like English cégeps, which is sort of like a weird kind of between high school and college school that Quebec students go to. So like yeah, it can be if you don't speak French well enough, you're gonna have a lot of trouble. Have I done any videos on Quebec nationalism? I think I've done like at least 2. Some areas don't speak English at all. This is true. Like Quebec has some very French areas. It has some very English areas, and it has some like mix. Like Bishop's was in a place called Estrie, which is or in English I think it's called the Eastern Townships. And where I lived, where Bishop's is in a town called Lennoxville, and Lennoxville is like a little English town, but it is next to Sherbrooke, which is a very French city. And all around S3 you'll find like a lot of French communities or English communities out there. And then there's like regions like the Gaspésie region, sort of on the Atlantic coast of Quebec. And you'll find like a lot of the people there are like Irish and stuff like that. So like it goes all over the place. How do you pronounce Tristan in a Quebecois accent? Tristan, usually. Yeah. So listen, I think those inverted commas mean China's bullshitting about this reactor. What? Oh. We'll find out. Let's take a look at the next stories. The next story is we've talked a little bit on this channel about lifter reactors. Opinion on Saint Hubert. Saint Hubert fucking rules. Their coleslaw is amazing. Yeah, I miss Saint Hubert. How different is Quebecois French from the standard one? It's it's pretty different. There's a lot of like old slang. There's a lot of like slang that's very different. There's a lot of borrow words from English, and there's a pretty thick accent too. And there's like a lot of like random phrases that are very weird and make no sense even in French, but they make sense in like Quebecois slang. All right. So the next story is about China. So I talked on this channel. So everybody. I have talked on this channel many times about the possibilities of what are called lifter nuclear reactors. So these are like nuclear reactors that, instead of using uranium, use a substance called thorium tetrafluoride. And they have a whole bunch of like uses that makes it very interesting, which is one, it's very safe because lifter reactors, unlike normal nuclear reactors, can't be used to enrich uranium, which means they can't be used to make nuclear weapon fuel. So you don't have to worry about nuclear proliferation with lifter reactors. Two, they use, instead of uranium, which is actually pretty rare, I think like uranium is about as common in the crust of the Earth as silver is. But they use thorium, and thorium is a relatively common material that's found in most like rare earth mines and stuff like that. So there's that. Have I been to Europe? Yes, once. And the other thing, so any rare earth mine, which we are trying to tap as many rare earth mines as possible because we need rare earth for like cell phones and stuff like that. So they have a lot of thorium. So thorium is a very like abundant substance. It's kind of just thrown out at this point because it's so overwhelming. And there's even a decent amount in like the water. And or in seawater, there's a fair amount of thorium. So these liquids, they also can't melt down because they are liquid. If something goes wrong, what happens is they design like a kind of drain, like a thing with like this cold piece of ice or something like that is constantly being kept cold, and if like it will break, like if there is some sort of issue, they will just simply turn, like if the power goes out, for example, then this block of ice melts and all of the thorium just goes into this like safety container, that kind of thing. So it's pretty safe. So safe that like people have considered like making thorium reactors that you can just like bury in the backyard and you don't have to think about it. You only have to like refuel it like once every like decade or so. So this is an interesting development. I don't know the details on this, but obviously it hasn't been developed. There are some technological hurdles that need to be covered in order to make it work. And there are some people who are against it, and I don't exactly know what their arguments are. So there's that. So we'll see where it goes. How do you pronounce Gatineau? Well, I already did it. Let's see. Somebody asked a question before that. Anyways, what do I think about Vosh? Oh, yes. Thank you for the $5 super chat. What's wrong with Vosh? He's spoken out against Jimmy Dore and ripped fascist part in debates. I mean, there's the whole being a sex pest. There's the tactical slurs thing. Just like, you know, meh. Is this a different thing from nuclear fusion? Yes. Nuclear fusion is another thing that we're pushing forward with. But nuclear fusion is a power source where you take hydrogen and you put it, you spin it around really fast in this ring with you take a block of hydrogen and you hit it with very powerful lasers all simultaneously so that it creates a ton of pressure on this very small area. And then you create powerful magnetic fields to sort of keep the pressure very, very high. And what you can do is turn hydrogen and compress it so much that it starts turning into helium. The atoms start fusing into one atom. And this is basically how our sun works, and that's nuclear fusion. And we've been trying to work very hard to find a way to make it so that that actually gives off more power than it... someone just says 30 years away perpetually. Although there is there's like a venture in the UK that just started breaking ground on a fusion plant, and this time it's not a research company or not a research facility. It's like a actual like for-profit company that is trying to says that when it's done in 2025, they might be able to have something that is, viable. We'll see. We'll see. I do keep my eye to see what's going on. But the thing about but fission is when you use neutrons to break atoms apart, and you harvest the energy that comes off of that, and yeah. Is it fair to say being reflexively anti-nuclear is a problem on the left? I mean, I haven't run into it. I don't actually know that many people who are like not nuclear. All right, so let's take a look at this. Clean nuclear reactor that that China is building. So. Okay. So, let's go. God, so many ads that actually slows down the website. Oh my God. All right. Are you intrigued by the possibility of using nuclear reactors to curb emissions, but worried about their water use and long-term safety? There might be an impending solution. Life Science reports that China has outlined plans to build the first clean commercial nuclear reactor using liquid thorium and molten salt. That's what LIFTR stands for, liquid fluoride molten thorium reactor. The first prototype reactor should be ready in August. That's this month. With the first test due in September, a full-scale nuclear reactor could be ready by 2030. The technology should not only be kinder to the environment, but mitigate some of the political controversy. Conventional uranium reactors produce waste that stays extremely radioactive for up to 10,000 years, requiring lead containers and extensive security. The waste also produces plutonium-239, an isotope crucial to nuclear weapons. They also risk spilling dramatic levels of radiation in the event of a leak, as seen in Chernobyl. They also need large volumes of water, ruling out use in arid climates. I did not know about the water thing. That's new. So thorium reactors, however, dissolve their key element into fluoride salt that mostly outputs uranium-233 you can recycle through other reactors. Other leftovers in the reactor have a half-life of just 500 years. Still not spectacular, but much safer. If there is a leak, the molten salt cools enough that it effectively seals in the thorium and prevents significant leaks. The technology doesn't require water and can't easily be used to produce nuclear weapons. You can build reactors in the desert far away from most cities without raising concerns that it'll add to the nuclear weapon stockpile. China is accordingly building the first commercial reactor in Wuwei, a desert city in the country's Gansu province. Officials see this as a way to foster China's international expansion. It plans up to 30 in countries participating in the country's Belt and Road Investment Initiative. In theory, China can extend its political influence without contributing to nuclear arms proliferation. That might worry the US and other political rivals that are behind on thorium reactors. The US-based natrium reactor, for example, is still in development. Even so, it might go a long way towards fighting climate change and meeting China's goal of becoming carbon neutral by 2060. The country is still heavily dependent on coal energy, and there's no guarantee renewable resources will keep up with demand by then. Thorium reactors could help China wean itself off coal relatively quickly, especially small-scale reactors that could be built over shorter periods and in gaps where larger plants would be excessive. Wait, genuinely, do we know why long half-lives are good, actually? It's just that when you have spent nuclear fuel, you essentially have to protect it forever. And if it's lasting like 1,000 years, we have to find very weird ways to get rid of fuel in strange configurations that we don't really have great answers to. This is the one problem with nuclear. Why am I not using an ad blocker? Because every time I use an ad blocker now, when I load up a web page, it just says, "Hey, fucker, stop using an ad blocker." Now it's more annoying to use an ad blocker than to not use an ad blocker, because when you use an ad blocker, now they all have code on their site that gives you a big pop-up that basically says, whitelist ads on our website or no content for you. And so it's just like, okay, whatever. That's the main reason. Just wish you weren't so shy to hold back sarcasm. Maybe speak your mind. Oh boy. Hope that was sarcasm. The one I use, AdGuard, seems to be get around as I don't get that message anymore. Good. I'll check that out. I will. I'll check it out after the stream. AdGuard. Cool. Okay. So lifter reactors are pretty interesting, and I am kind of excited about the prospect. So I am interested to see where that goes. Because I could see a lot of promise for it, obviously. Okay. And yeah, there is the problem of finding ways to store nuclear waste. We have. Yeah, the thing is that I am not usually pro nuclear power at this point for a couple of reasons. Yeah, the fuel issue is it's not overcomable. With Yucca Mountain or the Canadian Shield, we do have ways to get, and breeder reactors and stuff like that. We have ways to sort of deal with the fuel problem if we really want to. But the thing about nuclear power plants is that they are very expensive and they take a very long time to build. And if there's anything I'm learning right now is that if you look at the price point of all these different types of electricity, that the price of solar panels and stuff like that and wind turbines is just absolutely tanking down to the ground so fast that and things like geothermal and stuff are also becoming a lot cheaper, that it does seem that we're not too far away from nuclear reactors being sort of just not worth the investment, I guess. What's the price to build these guys? It's billions of dollars, and they take over a decade to build because the things you need to make a nuclear power plant are ridiculous. You need this reactor thing that is made from a single piece of steel, and it's humongous. And it has to be made in a very precise and specific way. And there's only one company in the world that makes it, and it's in Japan. And they can only make so many a year. So you have to wait on waiting lists for years to get your hands on this critical piece. Then on top of that, it has to be made with extremely high grade concrete, and the entire building has to be made into its own almost because the way that reactors are built is they have this concrete construction that's designed to sort of contain a meltdown if a meltdown ever happens. And so you have to build an entire, you can't just move it into any building. You have to build a custom building about it, and it has to be massive. Then there are tons of regulations in place to make a nuclear reactor safe. You have to have so many types of inspections. It can only be in certain places. Then when it's in a place, you have to be able to provide everybody in the 100-mile radius of this place with iodine pills and stuff like that. You have to hire full-time security. You have to have at least MSc level engineers and nuclear physicists to work at the reactor at all times to make sure everything runs okay. They are very big, very expensive, very slow things to build. And right now, we're finding that we can make a solar panel super fucking cheap. And if we can get these lifter reactors online, we can build those very, very cheap and very, very, or maybe not cheap, but you can build them very, very low maintenance. So in my mind, there's no point to be building your traditional huge steam tower nuclear power plant anymore. That's the thing. And the other thing too is that nuclear accidents are very rare, but if and when they do happen, for example, Chernobyl, although Chernobyl is everything went wrong. But the thing is, Chernobyl has made an exclusion zone that will be uninhabitable for millennia. Even if you have one accident every 3 centuries, you're going to end up having multiple exclusion zones across the Earth, which is that's kind of a problem. So, Yeah, I think that like traditional nuclear power as we think of it now should probably be retired, I guess is what I would say. All right, so the next article we got here is America is getting unvaccinated people all wrong. So let's see what that's all about, shall we? So this is from The Atlantic. I haven't read this article, but I was curious about it, so let's take a look. What's the most effective form of energy in your opinion? Probably some kind of combination of solar and wind and geothermal power. And then if we need to, which we probably will because our energy needs are going to keep going up, that we should probably be investing in things like lifter and thorium, or lifter and like fusion type nuclear power as things to kind of fuel our needs of the future. We could even start looking towards like solar satellites and stuff like that. There was even one that I remember that was like they were trying to make a energy out of harvesting like solar winds or something like that. So there's like a lot of different ways we can look at it. All right. So here we got here. America is getting unvaccinated people all wrong. They're not all anti-vaxxers, and treating them as such is making things worse. Okay, well, let's see what happens. What about biomass? Not a thing? Biomass is fine. Biomass is, yeah, it's perfectly acceptable. If I remember correctly, it still creates, like, methane waste or something like that. But I would go for it. It's more carbon neutral than it is, Appreciate your video on Canadian residential. Today, though, the numbers of children leaving the reserve not to return is higher than before. Oh, boy. Oh, hydroelectric, too. Wind and hydroelectric are the only ones that don't generate heat in order to boil water to spin turbines. I did know that. Okay. Last week, CDC Director Rochelle Walensky said that COVID-19 is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated. President Joe Biden has said much the same shortly after. They are technically correct. Even against the fast-spreading Delta variant, the vaccines remain highly effective, and people who haven't received them are falling sick way far more often than those who have. But their vulnerability to COVID-19 is the only thing that unvaccinated people universally share. They are disparate in almost every way that matters, including why they haven't been vaccinated and what it might take to persuade them. The unvaccinated are not a monolith of defectors, says Rhea Boyd, a pediatrician and public health advocate in the San Francisco Bay Area, tweet on Saturday. Okay. They once discovered that a naturally occurring nuclear reactor was using uranium as a fuel in Africa. Yeah, I heard about that. It sounded really cool. Okay. Boyd has been talking to underserved communities about COVID-19 vaccines since November, before any were even formally authorized. Together with several partner organizations, she co-developed a national campaign called The Conversation, in which Black and Latino healthcare workers provide information and dispel misinformation about vaccines. She has spoken virtually to dozens of community groups, including churches and schools, fielding their questions about the shots. I reached out to Boyd because I wanted to know that what she has learned through all these encounters and why some people are still unvaccinated and what to do about it. So we'll see. Our conversation. So, okay, this is an interview. So let's see if there's anything interesting in here. Every question that goes legitimate and important. Tell me what the event. Okay. Tell a town hall about 5,000 people participated. I would have imagined that. I had one gentleman who was vaccinated with Johnson & Johnson. He asked, did I get a safe shot? We affirmed from him that this far after his vaccination, he's likely safe. That opened my eyes. If you've heard that about a serious side effect and are worried if you're at risk, you're probably not encouraging the people around you to get vaccinated. Okay. We tend to hear a similar thing. Okay. A lot of vaccine information isn't common knowledge. Not everyone has access to Google. This illustrates pre-existing fault lines in our healthcare system where resources, including credible information, don't get to everyone. The information gap is driving the vaccination gap, and language that blames the unvaccinated misses the critical point. Black folks are one of the least vaccinated groups in part because they have the least access to preventative healthcare services. There is that. Yeah, they don't talk about how many people are not vaccinated because of, like, not having access to the ability to get vaccines. So that's fun. Your second vaccine is the day after tomorrow. Really? I thought in the UK you would have been vaccinated a long time ago. Not everyone has access to Google Who. Keep in mind, America has, like, some severe poverty. Like, in the United States, like, still, I'm trying to remember what the percentage is, but, like, a shockingly high percentage of people don't have internet in their house or don't have computers. So, it's possible to get sick and perish from COVID even with the vaccine. I'm sure the vaccine could defend people, those who are symptomatic as well. The thing is, I don't know. I can't tell you for sure that that it's impossible to get sick or whatever, but it's very much less likely. Like, people who have the vaccine who are getting what are called breakthrough cases, who they're vaccinated but they're getting sick anyway, are getting much less sick than they would be. I think we might have a visitor coming. Oh, this has been a while. Come on. Everybody has been missing you. Yeah. Look who's here. It's Foobs. Hey, everybody. I know that it's been a while since you guys have seen this girl. I did not know she was in the office with me. Yeah, she's lying down right here. Trying to see how I could get the camera down here, maybe. Here you go. There's some kitty cat. Yeah. It's been a while. I know there's some people who are regulars to the stream where, like, there's a lot of new people here where you probably have never even seen the kitty. She used to be in every stream, and then she kind of just stopped because I started closing my door. But there you go. Look at this girl. So yeah, just talking here. Availability and access aren't the same thing. If you have to walk 5 miles, you're going to rethink getting vaccinated, especially if you're elderly or if you have a chronic disease. The round trip is interfering with things like work. Much of our paid tax force doesn't have our workforce doesn't have the flexibility or about hours, or couldn't take a day off if they wanted to. And if you don't have paid sick leave to deal with the vaccine or the potential side effects of the second dose, you'll skip it because feeding your family is a more important thing right now. That is true. So yeah, of course we're not talking about the unvaccinated. A lot of these issues with the unvaccinated. We want to talk about all the. We want to talk about all of the just dumb anti-vaxxers, but we don't talk about class and all the working class people who can't because of America, or like really capitalist world just being a fucking hellscape. Everyone's very excited about the kitty. Yeah, Phoebes, everybody loves you. So, if you're not getting vaccinated, we have even less data on you than if you are vaccinated. But we know that these barriers exist for even basic care. How do you make sense of the fact that some people won't get critical medications like their diabetes medications? Or that some people forego necessary medical care even if they experience complications from chronic illness? Well, I have some things to talk about you with that one, I think. Did the eviction prohibition get turned off? Apparently, there's some people who have stepped in. Like, apparently, there's some people who are talking about extending it again. I think Joe Biden said that he's going to extend it today after Cory Bush led a overnight thing outside of Congress. Let's see. Anti-vaxxers are incredibly vocal, and because of that, they've been a disproportionate focus of our vaccine outreach. but I think that they represent a small part of people in this country, and especially our communities of color, an irrelevant part. In our work, we haven't given much credence to their bluster, but the rampant disinformation that's put out by this minority has shaped our public discourse and has led to this collective vitriol against the unvaccinated as if they are predominantly a group of anti-vaxxers. The people we're really trying to move are not. That makes sense. Hey, Josue Artega. Got the Russian vaccine last Friday. Hope it helps. Awesome. The language we use around unvaccinated people comes with a judgment, a condescension that you're unvaccinated and it's your choice at this point. The attitude is papering Twitter. You know, this makes sense. And also, yeah, the biggest unvaccinated group is children. The article's not on screen. Yeah, I thought you guys would like to see some kitty. So while I've got Phoebe here, I thought I would give you guys some kitty cam until she decides it's time to move on. Can we see both? I mean, if I do, I guess I can, but the screen will be very small. Yeah. Let's see. Maybe if I just do this. This might be better. All right. Half kitty. Yeah. Maybe it's this believe the source can't. So, these very contentious encounters are driven by people staunchly holding on to something that they are served in some way. So let's see. Extreme cases are in a minority. We can't ignore them. When I reported on the ongoing surge in Missouri, a hospital chief told me that one patient spat in a nurse's eye because she told him he had COVID-19 and he didn't believe her. How do you think about folks who have gotten to that point? These are very contentious encounters, are driven by people really staunchly holding on to something that they are served by in some way. Maybe it's a source that belief came from and the need to believe other things that source says. Maybe they want camaraderie or collegiality with people around them so they can feel that they are in an in-group. People need to believe what they believe is true. They feel threatened when challenged about something to which they are beholden. The best way to address that may not be to actually challenge them one-on-one, but to shift what people around them are talking about. If you hear enough stories on Facebook feed or from strangers in the store that reinforce the science, it'll make what you're saying less reasonable to you and less useful to you. And once you don't need to hold on to it, you can let it go. Such a pretty little girl. I wonder how significant the number of people vaccinated but not admitting it is. I know one person kicked out of their house for getting vaccinated. Jesus Christ. I wonder how many get it but lie. Interesting question. I have some articles. I'm not working on this video right now, but I have some Google alerts open for a future video on conspiracy theories. And oh man, the amount of articles that are about how people's vaccination status is pretty much tearing apart families is pretty intense. To begin pandemic, we drew on data on how physicians of color were treated messengers for communities of color. There are so few that only 5% of our physicians' workforce is black. That isn't enough. But I think we're too limited in our thinking about who is a trusted messenger. People use informal communication chains. They have side conversations with the grocery store clerk or their niece and nephew. People will believe anecdotal healthcare information that their family members suggest over credible info that a healthcare professional is giving. We've talked to virtual faith-based groups on Sundays. We've talked to barber shops, after-school organization, and boys and girls clubs. Some of these groups are small, hundreds of people, or sometimes just 20. People then are much more specific about their concerns about the things that they usually have bluster around. I wonder how many people arrogantly respond about vaccinations during a more formal conversations, but then come to our events and share something vulnerable in these protected settings where they're surrounded by their pastor and people they know. It's interesting to talk about, like, you know, the actual emotional situation that these people are in. This is interesting. I'm definitely digging that article, so yeah. Why it's almost impossible to argue with the right is the next article. I am very curious about this one. This is from Salon by Sophia McLennan. And I'm interested in this one. So this is sort of like, maybe we'll learn something about, you know, the whole, what's it called? The issue with people who are on the right and about debate culture and stuff. So let's see what we get here. All right, so not long after the attacks of September 11, 2001, my mom accused me of hating my country. By then, she had fully fallen into the Fox News world, having married a far-right man late in life. But her position still surprised me. I was, after all, her own daughter. Didn't she have a basic idea of what I thought? I explained that being against the war in Iraq, opposed to invading Afghanistan, and all-out critical of just about everything the Bush administration did was not akin to hating my country. We went around in circles, but there was no convincing her that she held the wrong premise and that critique was not hatred. Hey. Don't chew on cables. That wasn't the only time in those years I dealt with being told that I hated my country, but certainly was the most frustrating. Again and again, then as now, those of us who make critical arguments about the United States, those of us who question conservative policies, those of us who point out examples of right-wing hypocrisies, aggressions, abuses, and lies, find ourselves in a strange position of having to argue against a warped understanding of what we advocate. My mom and I never discussed what I actually thought about the United States because the entire conversation was framed by her assertion that I hated it and my efforts to explain that I didn't. I don't think I fully captured at the core of the problem until I recently read an essay in The Atlantic by Ibram X. Kendi, who, by the way, for you guys, is the guy who wrote, like, How to Be an Anti-Racist, and I read a couple of his books last year. It was pretty good. He's a bit of a lib, but, you know. Oh, Phoebe? You deciding that my... Whoa. You deciding my keyboard is the place you want to sleep now? Oh, no. Okay. Did you see this story, by the way? I'm not going to just click a random link in the middle of a thing, okay? Hating the U.S. is kind of base, I agree. But you know, it's Salon. You can only get away with so much on Salon. I don't think I fully captured the core of the problem until The Atlantic by Ibram X. Kendi on how there's no debate over critical race theory, as Kendi puts it. The Republican operatives who dismiss the expositions of critical race theorists and anti-racists in order to define critical race theory and anti-racism, and then attack those definitions are effectively debating themselves. They have conjured an imagined monster to scare American people and project themselves as the nation's defender from that fictional monster. That is true. Is Phoebe, or other? It's Phoebe with a PH. Just read the title.
Vice.
Parkland survivor. My dad thinks shooting is a hoax. Yeah, I'm talking about this story in my in a video in September. In September, to celebrate Step Back turning 6 years old, I am what's it called? I am making a video. I am remaking my first Step Back video. So you guys are getting a good view of Phoebes now. Hey. So Kendi brilliantly lays bare that which many of us have been ensnared for decades, that pundits and politicians create their own versions of many progressive, liberal, and leftist views, and then they fight with their version. This is true. There is no real debate and certainly no dialogue because the entire game is to offer up a distorted version of a position, then freak out about it. Once the pattern is recognized, it will be seen everywhere. Kendi refers to it to the way that it has been used with Black Lives Matter, the New York Times 6019 Project, cancel culture, and critical race theory. But we can see the same play made with almost any progressive political positions. Professors are trying to brainwash students to become socialists, feminists, think all men are rapists. Abortion rights defenders don't care about life. The gay community doesn't respect marriage, so on. We can see it in the claims that young people are snowflake whiners. Okay. They distort from the start and then take up all your bandwidth in fighting their distortion. They don't just set the terms, they single-handedly define them for both sides. See, this is why I don't like my video, like, I don't like my videos being, I don't like doing response videos. I don't really like debating the right because this is exactly what they do. This is how they argue. So I don't tend to want to do that. Do I need to move the camera so we can get some more feeds going on? Let's see. It isn't just that the right argues with itself, it's also that they do it really loudly. There is little question that the vituperative bullying nature that is that the right so-called debating is also a core part of the problem. First, they misrepresent you, then they spin up into an incoherent meltdown. Think for a moment of how we now have such a high-profile chorus of right-wing gasbags, all of whom make their illogical points really loudly. Sometimes, as in the case of Alex Jones, they do so while shouting so intensely they seem to spit into the microphone. Take, for example, the recent scare over President Joe Biden's door-to-door vaccine strategy. The White House has noted that there is a growing disparity in communities. Oh, there we go. Our time with her was brief, but it was welcomed. She used to be a much more regular feature of these streams, but she's been showing up less often lately. Just because I keep my door closed while I stream now, so that I don't bug Kelly. Yeah. Okay, so where were we? The White House has noted that there's a growing disparity in communities receiving the vaccine, so Biden proposes the notion that in some communities it might be beneficial to go door to door and spread information about vaccine safety and efficacy in order to encourage more people to get vaccinated. But that's not what the GOP hears. Instead, they turn this plan into a sinister strategy, which according to GOP Representative Madison Cawthorn, could be used to take all manner of items away from citizens. They could go door to door and take your guns. They could go door to door and take your Bibles. Oh my God. Being able to diffuse that kind of strawmanning is pretty hard and a skill that's hard to develop. Yeah, it's honestly like fruitless and kind of pointless. Like, the thing is that like this is like a criticism I probably have of like I don't even want to call it like left-wing Twitch and left-wing YouTube, is that we still let the right dictate the contours and shape of our conversations so deeply that we really like anytime you have a debate with somebody on the right, anytime that you try to you letting them take control of the argument, and you spend so much time replying to the false things that they've said about you that you don't actually get to talk about things that are important. So like in my content probably doesn't do as well because of this. I actually try to talk a lot about arguments that I want to make on my own, not about how the right portrays a position that I have. I don't want to make Ben Shapiro is wrong about critical race theory. I like making things that make the case for left-wing politics, but but not not doing so by letting them frame the conversation. Have my own conversation. Talk about the actual facts on the ground. This is why nobody watches Step Back. Or I shouldn't say no one watches Step Back. Now a fair amount of people are watching Step Back, and it's kind of surprising. But yeah. All right. So what should the White House do? Refuse these loony claims? Doing so only allows the right an ongoing platform to repeat them and forces the White House to engage in an exhausting loop of trying to explain themselves. Yet, leaving those unfounded accusations out there unchallenged has the real risk of costing lives. It's an impossible situation because it shuts down any form of reasonable exchange. You can't debate with somebody who isn't even listening to your point. The rub, as Kendi makes clear, is that one simply can't argue with someone who won't even listen. How should thinkers respond to monstrous lies, he asks. Talking with people who have created a monologue with 2 points of view, theirs and what they impute on you, gets old. But what doesn't get old is finding a way to expose the rhetorical games played by the right. You might not want to bother trying to debate them, but there is much to be said for finding ways to reveal the faulty logic, hubris, and bluster that often characterizes their manufactured outrage. This, of course, is why irony and satire do a better job of driving the fray than reasoned critical discourse. Satire can make the absurdity of these right-wing faux debates and expose their spectacle. Think, for example, how Desi Fox explains for The Daily Show. Ugh, okay. Even better, check her takedown of the fake debate staged on cable news. For example, or consider how, oh God, please no. Or how Samantha Bee drives home Kendi's point in her, oh my God. Don't watch Samantha Bee, okay? God damn. Person's gonna give me an aneurysm. So there you guys know. The solution to the right-wing misframing of people is apparently The Daily Show and Samantha Bee. God damn, that makes my brain. This last paragraph here just surprised me with 1d6 psychic damage. God damn. Oh boy. Okay. Well, it was good there for a moment. Oh man. You never watched her, but I thought she was good. Samantha Bee is a liberal. She would be considered probably like a red Tory here in Canada. She's got some social, she's good on some social issues, but she was a huge hater of Bernie Sanders in 2016. She, I think her and her husband actively went to bat in their school to make sure that poor kids couldn't go to the same school as her kids. She's very right-wing when it comes to class issues. Anyways, let's see what we got next. Oh, this is a long one, though. And we're already halfway through the stream. Maybe I'll come back to this one later. Maybe I'll, read this one and take notes and stuff. Same with this one about bombing Somalia. So let's just check out this, I guess. I'm trying to remember what I did for this, but... So federal officers recommend... Oh, yeah. So it's been... what's it called? The union vote at Amazon was considered possibly illegal. And so that is... they're recommending to do another union vote. So that's good. I like that. Don't like being recommended Uber. No thanks. But everything else, we're good. What was that name of that ad block again? I wrote it down probably. I did. Yeah, AdGuard. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's get to, we have 4 questions here. We can probably chew through real fast and then probably just, chat for the rest of the stream. Okay. So, let's say that America had a parliamentary system like the UK or Canada that allowed for more than 2 parties to have influence over government. Who would likely become the main left party in the U.S.? The Socialist Party, Farmer Labor, or the Greens? I imagine that my guess is that if America actually had like a system like a parliamentary-based thing, it would really depend upon if they had like a rep by pop. Like you're saying that UK or Canada. So in my mind, I think that if they had if they just had a, first past the post type of government system, that the United States would probably end up being pretty similar to how it is now. Third parties might win sometimes, but it would be very low. But my guess is that the mix would probably be like, there was actually, I wonder how, I think it might be very long, but there was a video done by a channel called Soliloquy years ago that, what's it called? There was a video by a channel called Soliloquy that was like, what if we had a parliament in America? And it was a few years old, but basically it split America into sort of 4 major political parties and about how big they'd be. Like there was basically a progressive party, kind of Bernie Sanders party, that would probably be something called like the Socialist Party or something like that. And then there was a Democratic Party led by Pelosi. Then there was like a sort of Trump-led Republican Party that would probably have Trump as the prime minister of the country. And then you would have sort of the... Now, they said the Tea Party party that was kind of led by Ted Cruz. But I have a feeling that the more the division today would be the Republican Party would be split between a sort of like hyper-nationalist Nazi party that led by Trump and then like a like stuffy like Republican Party that is that's probably got next to no support. What are my thoughts on Antifa and BLM? Good things. Antifa is not a group. It's if anything, it's a moral imperative. People who engage in Antifa activities are the people who are making a stand against fascism, which is essentially the malignant cancer of politics. And if Antifa wasn't there to stand up and make fascists afraid to leave their homes, who knows where we'd be. And so people who engage in those activities are heroes in my book, and I hope that they are having a very good night. As for BLM is a long overdue civil rights movement for Black Americans who have been the subject of state violence by the police for as long as there have been police. In fact, the police in the United States were basically made for explicitly that purpose. And so fighting against the police as an institution, we were kind of going for defunding the police, and that was really awesome until they decided to sort of move away from that in favor of like, what's it called? I don't know. The Democratic Party just tried to subsume Black Lives Matter, but I don't think that's going to be a thing. I don't think Black Lives Matter can be so easily subsumed. So my guess is that so my take is that Black Lives Matter is a long overdue, very important and necessary part of what's going on in political discourse. So yeah, Antifa and Black Lives Matter, both very good. Is Pelosi a Republican or a Democrat? She is like the head of the Democrats. Phoebe's back. With how different Twitch and YouTube are, how do you compare the numbers of views you may get on a video versus the average number of views of any moment in a live stream? So I have there's a website called Restream, which I do my streaming through. And Restream collects data on your streams. Like I know right now that between the two streams that I'm on right now, that I've got a total of 102 people watching the stream right now. There are 24 on Twitch and 78 on YouTube. So I'm going to need to get a second camera just to cover Phoebes. So what do I think of Christianity and religion in general? I've gone well on the record on these streams saying that I don't have major issues with I am personally agnostic. I call myself an apatheist, in which it's like I don't really think it's super important for my well-being whether or not a God exists. I don't particularly care, but I do think that people are entitled to believe and live their lives as they see fit if they're not hurting anybody. I have seen people do some of the greatest acts of service and kindness towards others in the name of religion, and I've seen people do some of the worst things that people have ever done to other human beings in the name of religion. Religion to me seems kind of neutral in that regard. It's used to justify a lot of conservative political opinions or or conservative social beliefs, but I don't necessarily think that religion is the cause more than it is the, justification that people use for their beliefs. So I would say that people's religions are. I've seen hardcore Catholic priests who are doing far more for the leftist cause than anybody who has tut-tutted and clicked their tongues at Christians all being bad or whatever. So there is that. Out of all the gods of old, which one would you worship? Let's go with Dionysus. That sounds fun. Yeah, apatheist is like an idea of being an agnostic. That is that you don't particularly care whether or not God exists. So that's my take. I don't see I see religion as morally neutral and is used like many other things to justify different types of actions, good and bad. So that's my take. And also that it's a core. Religion is often a core part of somebody's identity that you probably shouldn't take away, because a lot of people would rather die than just taking away someone's a group of people's religion or trying to erase religion is called cultural genocide when we do it to other people. So maybe we shouldn't do that. I did my entire master's thesis on Islamophobia and about the rising hatred and the sort of racist implications of how Islamophobia is rising in the United States and such. It was very dark, but ever since then I've fundamentalist Islamic terrorists have killed more Muslims than any other religion on earth, and just I don't know. Who's my favorite character in Critical Role? Jester. Most definitely. I was like, maybe Scanlan, but no. I think Jester's higher up on that. I feel like you're trying to put religion above criticism. I mean, okay. I don't care. It's like saying I think you're gonna have to put being French above criticism. I think being like a certain skin color above criticism. Religion is part of people's identity, and saying like, hey, your existence is wrong because you believe this thing that's different than me. Like, yeah, no, thanks. There's plenty of room to, critique and talk about, like the, pernicious aspects of different religious communities and even different religious organizations and denominations. But talking about it as if it's like, this is a thing that needs to be eliminated, it is irredeemable and evil and wrong, is not good. That is not a way to approach anybody's take on faith. Just like it would be to take on anybody's take on ethnicity or their language or whatever. Have I done any videos about critical race theory? I have not. I feel like a guy who looks like this probably shouldn't be the one making the video on critical race theory. Although maybe for some people you need a white man to say it for people to actually understand what it is. But even then, I would have to do a lot of reading. So it might be a thing I do in the future, but it's not currently in the cards for me at this point. People can't choose not to be French. Sure they can. You can learn a new language. You can leave your entire community. You can change everything about your culture. You could move to another place, and then you would not be French anymore. Like, look at me. My family is French, and because of a couple of generations of assimilation, my mom doesn't speak French, despite the fact that her mom's a francophone, and like my connection to my French heritage has been like severed and like destroyed. I have to like regrow it. I have to like I'm trying to like bring it back. So. Like, in my mind, I think that a lot of people just assume that people believe horrible things because they are religious, instead of religion being a sort of system-justifying belief that people use to justify their bigoted beliefs. Because, like, yeah, there are homophobes, and there are homophobic Christians, there are homophobic Muslims, there are homophobic atheists, there are homophobic communists, there are homophobic fascists. I mean, pretty much all fascists are homophobes. But, like, Can the person in France stop being French by choosing to think differently and doing nothing else? Here's the thing. Can a person who is in a religious community, who is surrounded, their family, their friends, their community, their neighborhood, their partner, their children, are all part of the same religious community, can you just stop being part of that religion and not give up a whole lot of your life? Like, I think that you are thinking that religion is just like some simple idea that is loosely held, and you can just let it go if you're just convinced that it's wrong, when like there's a lot more going on. Like, religions are thousands of years old. They're deeply entrenched in how we see ourselves, how we see our families and communities and stuff like that. And then just to be like, nah, your religion's bad and must be destroyed. Like, they will not. That'll not work. All right, let's see what we got next. A while back, I got this idea for an alternate history timeline where some small Roman island gets transported to the Mediterranean/Northeast Pacific, just off the coast of North America, so the Romans could create an empire in North America. Wow, what a long, convoluted line of reasoning to get to that. I underestimate the Native Americans, or hunter-gatherers in general, by imagining a few thousand Romans could take them over. Yeah. I think unless there's like the major disease thing, the Romans wouldn't stand a chance. Do you also not believe white teachers should teach critical race theory in school? I think they should. It's just whether or not like I should be the one making a video on it. Like, I would rather promote a person of color who knows about critical race theory and is much more like, has done much more, research and like has like, it's part of their work or whatever, I would rather promote one of their videos than make one of my own. Because I find so often that I'll like talk about a subject with like marginalized people and stuff, and then like my video will do better than something that was actually done by somebody who, you know, lives and breathes these issues, and it makes me feel kind of uncomfortable. But then again, like I'm learning that like it's very likely that, you know, people should like, you know, that sometimes you need to hear about, some people just need to hear it from a white man in order to take it seriously, which is gross, but you know, that's where we are. No one should teach CRT in school because it's taught at universities. I mean, the way that the right is misframing CRT, what they seem to mean is that critical race theory should be, like, to them, critical race theory is just teaching accurate history. And so, yeah, if that's the case, teachers should teach critical race theory. If critical race theory just means accurate teaching of history. But if you're talking about like the legal theory and stuff like that, it's a little bit advanced for kids. So I don't know if you should teach it in schools, just because it's, you know, you can talk about it in a more simplistic stance, but to really go into the nuts and bolts of it, it's like, you know, university level kind of stuff. And yeah, just like many other things, kind of like in the vein of the article we talked about earlier, critical race theory now just means thing I don't like. So it's kind of useless anyway. It's lost its meaning. And the whole manufactured outrage about, what's it called? The whole manufactured outrage about critical race theory is designed to basically kill any meaning that it actually has in society, or in American politics. Yeah, the Vikings lost their colony in Vinland despite having iron weapons, large shields. Yeah, exactly. The Skraelings or whatever. Yeah, like if the Romans didn't bring over like smallpox and stuff like that, they would have had no chance to conquer the Americas. I don't even think Europeans if there was no disease factor, I don't think that the Europeans after Columbus would have been able to take over the Americas either. There's just too many people. They wouldn't be able to do what they did. Like, the European diseases killed, like, 80-90% of the population of of North and South America. Like, there's no way the Europeans would have been able to do what they did if, you know, they had to deal with 10 times the population that they were dealing with. The other day you say you thought about writing a story where aliens invade Earth and our descendants have to live under them like a colonized underclass. Who would be the good guys in a story like that? Like, normally in schools about colonized people, they'd be trying to throw out the colonizers, rebuild their culture. But would the human characters be trying to throw out the aliens to rebuild our terrible culture? Unless you're like a right-winger, I think that'd make it seem not very sympathetic. Be complicated, that's for sure. I think that I would have to... I don't know what I would do. That was just like a basic premise. I'd have to think about it more when I actually, like, you know, wrote the thing. But I haven't written that yet. I have a lot of other fiction ideas that I want to write. I probably should get into writing fiction at some point soon. That is a thing I want to do. And after I got to 100,000 subscribers, the first thing my mom said to me was, so when are you writing that book? So I guess I have to write a book now. Like, yeah, there's people who are like, there was a case, I'm trying to remember with the explorers, a Spanish explorer who did sort of an expedition north of Florida into like what would be modern day like Arkansas and Alabama and stuff like that. And basically, he wrote about the region as if it was just like a region in Europe. Like, it had roads, it had towns and villages and cities and stuff like that, just like walking around Europe. And then they came back about 40 years later, and everything had been abandoned, and like all of the roads had been grown over and stuff like that. And like in the past, they thought he was just telling tall tales and that he was just lying. But then the archaeological evidence seems to pan out that he probably did actually see this kind of society. It's just that disease just absolutely destroyed the entire continent. Have I finished After the Revolution yet? No. I am getting there, but I definitely am close to the end. I think I only have a few. I think I'm listening to like the last episode. That's like, you know, those episodes where they put 3 chapters in one episode. So I'm listening to that one, and I'm definitely right now like getting on the last stretch of finishing the book, and I'm definitely in the part of the book where what I would probably say is the climax of the story, like where everything's going fucking crazy. So there is that. So I'm getting there. Yeah. Whew. Throat, I take a nice little break. I was talking nonstop for like an hour and a half. We still got about, half an hour left. So what should we talk about? Burn through all the questions. Should we try to look at that article again? The genocide scholar or whatever? I don't know. What are we up to, guys? As for like books, we were kind of talking about books that we were reading, and the most recent book that I have read, I decided to read The Lord of the Rings finally. I read the first one. What a wild book that was. And next, I had to switch library cards because they're finally the like COVID extension on our library cards is finally starting to wear out, and so my Toronto library card is going to expire in a couple weeks. So I had to go get a new library card today, and I'm hoping to soon be like, I will be watching or I'll be reading the first, I think, Dresden File novel or something like that. Let me just check what book I've got on my hold. No, it's the other. It's The Aeronaut's Windlass. It's by Jim Butcher, but it's something called the Cinder Spire series. I don't know. I have it on my list of books. I had it on my list of books to read, and they had an audiobook on the library, so I guess I'm gonna read that book. Did you already cover the election moratorium ending in the U.S.? It does. I talked about it very briefly, which is just that the book or the what's it called? It seems that Congress is reacting to the sort of negative press they got, and that Biden today has already talked about extending the eviction moratorium because of the new wave of COVID. So it looks like they've bought themselves some time. But again, I guess like one thing you could talk about with that is that the thing is that there's so many things that like COVID did that have like completely ravaged the economy that they have a bunch of systems in place to act as like life support, but all of them can only last for so long. And once one of them like can't work anymore, there's going to be like massive political economic collapse in the US, or at least there's going to be a massive political economic like crisis. One of them is the eviction moratorium. There are a lot of people who are unemployed now because of COVID, and the only reason that they have houses, like up to like 11 million Americans, that's like almost like 1 in 6 Americans, have could be a homeless once the eviction moratorium actually ends. And if the eviction moratorium keeps getting extended and extended, and at some point they'll have to expire it because it's just like, a temporary measure. Unless they banned rent or something like that, but that's like a huge change in America in a very short amount of time. That I don't know if that nobody is ready to do in Congress. So if they when that ever expires, whenever that is, there's going to be a massive eviction crisis in the U.S., which is going to lead to millions of homeless people and massive political instability. The other thing too is that the U.S. is printing money like crazy right now in order to basically keep interest rates artificially low, to keep the economy from essentially imploding. And that can't last forever. The American dollar is falling very fast in like international currencies. And at some point, they're not going to be able to do these sort of like financial maneuvering to keep the economy functioning. And there's going to be like a huge like 2008 style economic collapse as well. What happens if either of those things, both of those things are probably going to happen sometime in the next year. And I don't know what to do. I don't know what they're going to do about that. Did Canada do monthly payments when the country shut down due to COVID? Yes, we did something called CHIRB, which was sort of like an extended unemployment benefits program that lasted until, I think, September of last year. I don't know exactly what its case is now, but basically we did a whole bunch of stuff to revamp the unemployment insurance system to keep people some form of money until they could things could get back normal. For example, like one of my friends who works at who works kind of like high up in a sort of group of high-end restaurants of fine dining restaurants in downtown Toronto. He was laid off for months, and he lived off CHIRB for that entire time. So, that was a thing. How much lead up do you need to plan a general strike properly? Oh boy, do I wish I know. I wish I knew. I am not a labor organizer, so I could not tell you. Which president do you think would you think if they lost, it would eventually lead to a socialist revolution? Wait, what? Oh. I don't know. I can't think of any, actually. Is it wrong for communities to make membership conditional on belief? All right, you know what? I'm just going to ignore your religion questions. You're on thin ice, 255. I know you want your whole thing where we make religion illegal, we take the children away from the parents, and, what's it called? Arrest people for wrongthink and put them in the re-education camps where they learn how to not be religious anymore. I'm just like, I'm done with this. Somehow any collapse that happens in the economy, it's already priced into the market. I don't know what that means. But yeah, America is playing chicken with a lot of very big things, a lot of the very serious impacts of the COVID crisis, and I don't exactly know what they're going to do because none of them can be answered with capitalism. Like the fact that the eviction moratorium will eventually have to end, and the only way to not have millions, like 1 in 6 Americans become homeless, is you would have to I mean, you'd have to find some way to decommoditize housing or do some sort of public housing project, but they won't do that. That isn't capitalist for that isn't capitalist enough for you, for them. So there's no like market-based solution to that. Because the market-based solution is just let them go homeless, and then the private equity firms will buy all the houses, and then everybody will live in rental units or just have a massive amount of homeless people, which will lead to political instability. Um, People have questions? What's the question? How do you fellow Americans take criticism from underdeveloped leftists? I mean, being in the heart of a warmongering imperialist state. Um, I mean, I'm not American. I'm Canadian. But I would hope that they would, listen. How will homelessness lead to political instability? Easy. You have, like, if you had millions of people who are on the streets, who don't have homes, who don't have jobs, who don't have money, like, there's this whole term, or I think there's like a kind of like a truism that, like, any country is like 3 missed meals away from a revolution. Like, the homeless people is like, the homeless population being over 10% of the US population, like, you're gonna get like that's revolution numbers. People who are that desperate and in that bad of a position, like, the idea of that many homeless people is unthinkable. And like, that's gonna, and if people with nothing to lose will do extreme things to, to do stuff like that. There is a definite, like, political turmoil in that kind of situation. Now, as far as like, as far, and then, like, yeah, and that paired with like an economic collapse, God, they'd be a huge disaster. We've never seen something so bad happen in U.S. history. What kind of revolution? I don't know. I don't know what the outcome would be. I just know that, 12 million hungry people will, or what's it called? Like, 1 in 6 people being, 1 in 6 people being homeless is a recipe for a country that is going to be in a real bad situation. Like, some bad shit's will go down. Will Cuba fall soon? Is that wishful thinking in the White House? There was like one demonstration 3 weeks ago, and the U.S. is just trying to blow it up to be a way more than it actually was. The thing is, like, a lot of people, like, revolutions are only really held back by the fact that people who are people are like kept just comfortable enough that they don't feel like they want to threaten what they have in the favor of something that is, uncertain. You have, like, you make 12 million new homeless people, like, or if 1 in 6 people in America are homeless, you have some serious stuff going on. You, like, what's it called? You have a lot of people with nothing to lose. Is Canada facing a similar housing socioeconomic crisis? Are they implementing similar monetary policies to keep their economy artificially afloat? I could not tell you, actually. I haven't heard anything about it, but Canada doesn't get a lot of attention in the news, so I don't know. Did I listen to the worst year ever about why the Olympics are bad and should end? No, I did not see that. I did not listen to that one. What's more likely, the homeless taking over and doing a socialism, or fascists taking over and geocoding the homeless to restore order, or genociding the homeless to restore order? I don't know. My guess is both will try at the same time. Yeah, the thing here is like up to 40 million Americans could lose their jobs, or could lose their homes if the eviction like moratorium went down. So, yeah, scary. I want to say that I love your content. Thank you. What do you think about how pistol dueling was an Olympic sport? Oh, God. Did I finish after the revolution? No, but I'm almost done. I'm working on it. It's my next thing to listen to. Just the problem is that to deal with like the mass evictions that would happen if they let the moratoriums expire permanently, and massive economic, like the thing is, the U.S. is in a fragile state, and one crisis, and it's already dealing with the COVID crisis. Although they're kind of ignoring it now, which is going to lead to other like major problems because they're just kind of ignoring the problem. But homelessness crisis followed by a massive economic collapse. Like, I don't think the U.S. can handle that many crises at once. It would be absolute. The U.S. also has pre-French Revolution levels of inequality. Yeah, and I think a lot of people have learned that at this point that they have a higher chance of making serious political change and roadblocks than they do through voting. So, like, America is closer to having a roadblocks-based solution to a lot of their political problems than by voting and, calling their Congress people and asking the people who have all of the money and all the power to pretty please stop taking all of our money and killing us. But who knows what comes out of that? I don't know. Because these periods of history can go in a lot of different directions, and we don't know what they are. But, and anybody who tells you that they do know what's going to happen are lying to you. Are you saying roadblocks or Roblox? In Roblox, there's a lot of most of the things that, it seems like the shortest route to actual change in America that will fix a lot of its problems, or really in Canada too, are mostly just are something in Roblox. That's the only really way that you can do anything. You can't really do anything. Like, voting doesn't seem to change anything, you have like both. We've learned now. I'm hoping that some liberals or people who only got into politics because of Donald Trump will learn that just having a president who is of the Democratic Party, who says nice things, does not mean that you're going to get any actual meaningful change. And when you have Joe Biden, who do the exact same thing as Trump, more or less, but with nicer words, and you see people start shutting up, you're like, oh yeah, there is no way forward politically with voting. And instead, you'll have to do something quite drastic in the hot, 20-year-old video game Roblox. I love that, for example, in the United States right now, they had a thing with, right now, COVID cases are going up quite a bit in the United States. People are not wearing masks anymore, and nobody wants to do any of the lockdowns ever again. Arkansas declared a state of emergency over COVID, but said that they're not going to implement any lockdowns or implement any mask mandates at all. So what do you do? What do you do in that case? Now that Joe Biden's president, a lot of Americans can no longer use wearing a mask and following public safety protocols as a way to kind of signal to others that they are liberals and proud. So if you can't make it like part of your political, expression or whatever, expression of your political identity, then they just don't do it. And now both Democrats and Republicans are basically just ignoring the exploding case levels in their states, and no one's going to do anything about it. Liberals don't care because it's the unvaccinated, which they think are all anti-vaxxers, but as we learned earlier tonight, is mostly like, working class people who work like 6 days a week and don't have and live like too far away from the closest vaccination center, and they don't have the time to take off to recover from any potential side effects. So, like, and liberals have never given a shit about the poor anyway. So it's like, and children, yeah. So it's like, as soon as they could, again, as soon as the pandemic was handled so that they personally, and by this I mean for liberals, it's like, upper middle class, highly educated, like managerial kind of professional workers, as soon as they could return back to normal, and they personally are fine. They don't have to wear a mask anymore. They don't have to shelter in place. They don't have to worry about getting sick. They have health insurance. They don't have to worry about like the financial ramifications of getting sick. They all got vaccinated because they can take vacation days to go get it, or they work from home, so it didn't really matter. As soon as it was convenient for them, as soon as they were okay, then they stopped caring. Then they stopped worrying about telling people to wear a mask, to tell people to get vaccinated. Then now they just are back to brunch. They don't give a shit. Back to brunch was such a perfect slogan to use against these fucking self-obsessed rich assholes that have just given up on, like they only cared about their own personal convenience. I don't know what this is about. Let's see. How do I make that go away? We're going to get spammed with that if I don't make it go away. There we go. Much better. I don't know why, but like 1 million people are following on Twitch. I don't know what this is about. I don't know what the deal is. I've been told that there's something like follow bots, but I don't know what's going on with this. But I will turn off the thing so we don't just hear the Macarena all night. Anyways. Do I think Trump would have extended the eviction moratorium, or do you think he would have thrown people out on the street and let the police take care of any disorder? I don't know. My guess is that he would have done something that would... Because Trump cared mostly about people liking him. So he would have done something that would have made him look good. Sometimes, like what's it called? Donald Trump gave Americans more stimulus checks than frickin' Joe Biden ever did. So, hello, Poppy Apple Tree. Just realized it's already 8:55. We're almost at the end of the stream, guys. Only 4 minutes left. What's going on? Yeah, get the vaccine for sure. This is me not saying that, like, Trump is good or the Republicans are good. They're, if anything, the Democrats and Republicans, the main thing that I'm trying to point out is that they're not that different. They are, they both represent essentially two sides of the same hyper-elite group of people. And then they just they both represent the wealthy. One represents the sort of business owner class, and one represents the sort of professional managerial class. And like the middle managers and the highly educated jobs like lawyers and doctors and like tech and all that kind of stuff. Neither of them care about the plight of poor people. And they use like a bunch of culture war issues in order to have people identify with one party or the other. But essentially, comes down to the end of the day, they're a bunch of rich assholes who care about their own convenience and really kind of could not be bothered about anything else. Like, prove me wrong. Where in Canada do most Canadians live? Most Canadians live in sort of what's called like most Canadians live in sort of this strip along the St. Lawrence River down to the Great Lakes. Like I think like 50% of the country lives like in this like sliver, kind of just of like southern Quebec and Ontario. Like. So the problem is that the things that you would need to do to handle the pandemic cannot be solved with capitalism. In fact, capitalism has made them worse. But no political party in the United States, Canada, or really many other countries in the West, at least, can solve anything with anything but capitalism. It's the only way that they can approach problems, and that's why the West has failed so horribly to handle COVID. And honestly, changing that would involve a massive change of the political structure of these countries. And not one that I think that you could change with, like, votes at this point. All of them have essentially, like, entrenched their parties or elites into a sort of entrenched political class that is very late, rarely changes, and if only mildly. And really, I don't know what the I don't know how you come out to the other side, unless you do some stuff in Roblox. But I hope that we can find another solution. But at this point, like they don't care about us, and there's no amount of asking and begging, pretty please don't destroy us, that you can do, because it just doesn't happen. So that's where we're at. All right. I realize that we are now very close to 9 o'clock. So I wish that was pretty intense. So maybe that's where I'll end, that dramatic note. So we're going to come down. No comment chick. We haven't seen her in a long while. So let's go raid her. I'm sure she'll love it. All right, let's... but yeah, everybody, you've been great. This stream has been a lot. Let's take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, of course. I'll be back on Thursday at noon, so that we can do we can meet with Mia Mulder and, hang out and have fun. Alrighty. Let's get the raid going. And, be good. Be kind. Peace.